Good afternoon, everyone. Who else but Donny Walker here? So, let's talk Echo today. Echoes make some darn good equipment. You know, they've been around a long time. You know, like you think about it, the Asian countries have been around a long time, thousands of years, right? So, you know, they've all had to have equipment years ago, just like the Swedes did, and the Germans did, and the Americans did after, you know, people came to America and Canada, right? So, you know, Echo, or, you know, originally I believe is the Kyortz company. It's kind of a weird spelling. It's K-Y, Kyortz or something, eh? I believe they make big industrial equipment too, but I'm not sure on that. But I have looked at the Echo history before, and I've just done a little researching again. So I just want to go over this kind of stuff with you before I start talking about the lovely 7310 here I'm doing for Jason Hong from North Carolina. So Echo, first thing they come out with was like a power duster, eh? For blowing like fog and pesticides to get rid of like pests and stuff, probably on rice fields and whatever they have there, right? So that was in 1947. That was the first kind of backpack Mr. Blower kind of machine, right? You can, and if you go on Echo's history, Echo's Incorporated, the world's site, not the American site, you'll see this. So that was pretty cool. 1947. So it wasn't called Echo then. It was called the Kyortz then. Then in 1960, they came out with the first brush cutter backpack. Big, long, straight, kind of big industrial looking machine. And you'll see it when you look on there. In 1983, they came out with their first chainsaw, the CS80. Pretty cool looking saw, man. I'd like to get my hands on one of them babies. It was, 3 years before I was born, that thing was made. So that's, 60 years old? Yeah, 60. 1966, the first straight shaft brush cutter. And around then, they started calling stuff Echo from about 63 on. Now in the early 70s, 73 and on, they started bringing saws to America and equipment, right? Like that old dual piston. They had a dual cylinder saw. What was it called? The 500 EVL or something like that. It's pretty neat. I got to work on one years ago in Williams Lake, and geez, it'd be cool to have one of those too. Have two tuned pipes come off it. That would look really cool. Anyways, off topic on that. I just wanted to let you know that they've been around a long time. They make fabulous stuff. Like their new saws here, the motors on them are bulletproof. They're a great setup. This here 7310. Let me get you zoomed in a little bit now that I'm talking about the saw, and I'll show you some stuff I'm doing here to Jason Wong's saw. I just talked to him on the phone earlier. Actually, I called him up down in North Carolina and seen how the weather is down there today. It's around 50 degrees. It's kind of been up and down in the weather. Told him I was wearing my old winter Stanfield here today, my old woolly, because it's that time of year now. So anyways, let's talk about the 7310. I've already ported this one, decked the cylinder. Here's a stock cylinder that I have decked already, but I haven't ported it. They have 6 transfer ports, so 3 on each side. Very nice. Just a well-designed cylinder. Really nice chrome, really clean ports in it. Just beautiful. Nice small combustion chamber. I would like to have all of them without the compression release in the head, but some guys want them. I leave them in. If they don't want them, you can block them off and put a grommet in the cover to get rid of that. They leak after a while and they rob horsepower. Okay, so anyways, let's talk about the cylinder. Intake, I do not grind at all. Transfers, I don't touch. I don't take the side caps off and do them. But I deck the cylinder because they have 63 cell style squish from the factory. That's a schmogger. So I take 25 thou off the cylinder, get rid of the base gasket, and glue the cylinder down. And because I do that, then I need to work on my exhaust duration. If you look at the exhaust port on this thing, look at that big lip on top there. It's a nice shape. Like it's a nice shape of port. But I grind this exhaust port out, and I take some of that ridge off of there until I hit my 160 mark. I run 160 to 160. Total duration. I don't know about top dead center, bottom dead center. I do duration of the port. I can figure that out, but I don't want to right now. So that's what I do to them. And then I take the muffler. I just did this one upstairs. I haven't buffed it up and painted it yet. But I'm putting two nice little pipes on her. And this sucker will flow nice. The ones I've done for the loggers on the coast here, I've put the square sides on it like I would do with a regular Husky and stuff, like 288 caps with the screens, because they need to have them for forest regulations here. Just a nice saw. It does have an adjustable carburetor. It doesn't have a computer like people don't want these days, or most people don't. There's nothing wrong with them though. Don't get me wrong there. So this one I've assembled already. These are actually really easy to work on. You know, you can pretty much take the cylinder and the carburetor off at the same time if you wanted, but I don't like to do that. I do it all separate so I can see what everything's going on with it. The throttle cable can be a little quirky to get on, but once you've done a couple of them, it's no problem. This is the limiter removal tool. This you thread in, right hand thread, so righty tighty. You turn it about 3 or 4 threads, and you yank it out of there, and now you can adjust your carburetor with a small flat blade screwdriver. They do have a digital rev limiter ignition, but there's nothing wrong with it. You don't need to rev these any more than what the factory is saying. I believe it's around 13.5 with the bar and chain on. That's plenty. That's perfect. The ones that I've had out tested have full wrap handlebars and the bigger felling spikes versus the small bucking spike, they call it. Clutch is very beefy. These springs are basically around the same size as a 395. No, actually more like a 3120, okay? So beefy springs, small diameter clutch, but haven't had any problems with them. They seem to oil fine. I've turned the adjustment of the oiler up to maximum like they like to do on all of them, unless you're running a real short bar and you don't want that much, but more oil is better, right? So there's the saw. I've removed the caps already. I'm ready to adjust the carburetor when I run it down at Walker's after I get a bar and chain on it. So yeah, starter system's nice. It does have like air injection too, just like older Huskies that have air injection, or Johnson Red Turbos, or the new Stills that have them as well. So that's a good system, and the test followers that have been using this saw love this cartridge filter. Nothing really gets past it. I've checked all my demo saws every time they come in, and I don't see really much getting past here at all. So that's a nice setup. Way better than the white and orange ones. I'm not going to mention the name, but you guys need to put the max lows in a lot of those ones. Husqvarna ones are awesome too. This just has a nice seal to it. It fits down on this top cover here, which goes on there. So you got this rubber between there, which seals it really nice. If a person's in real dusty conditions, you could really put a foam wrap around this, like off a Briggs & Stratton lawnmower, and oil it and put it on there, and that would stop a lot of those fines if you're like working on the roadside where it's real dusty or something and you're worried about it. So just keep up on your air filter maintenance, right? I say that all the time, you know. Clean that out once in a while. Don't ever wash this with gas and water. Wash it with hot water and soap. Rinse it out with hot water and put it back together. You shouldn't really have to replace it unless it gets really jammed up with sap or something, or you get a hole in it. Okay? So that's the gist on that. Oh, I just dropped a bolt. There we go. Yeah, I like them. They fit the tree nice. Their failing sites are right on the money. This one doesn't have the full wrap, but you can get them, right? Another thing I notice on these, see that right there, that black part? To me, that should have a switch. And you know what that switch would be for? Heated handlebars. That'd be very cool, Echo, if you guys could send those to North America, especially here on the wet coast, where these guys' hands get so cramped up and wet, and you know, it's just very uncomfortable in the really cold conditions in the rain. So I believe they're going to come out with it. So that means they'd have to add a generator under the flywheel to generate the electricity to run the handlebars, probably a heated carburetor, and your back grip, just like Husqvarna's and Stills and Dolmars, right? Or Makitas, whatever you want to call them these days. So yeah, I like them. Jason Bond, I just told you this morning I'm doing it right now, and I am. So I'm going to finish putting it together. Like I say, they're very easy to work on. I did have a couple problems though, and let me tell you what the fault is here. So under the fuel line comes up from the tank under here, and if you guys can't quite see, but this fuel line is real close to this back mount, eh? So this back mount, when you're running this saw, you see how the suspension wants to move? The fuel line starts rubbing on that spring mount, and it wears a hole in it. There's also a service bulletin out from Echo about routing that line, about putting like a piece of weed eater line through it so you get the right curvature to it, then you plug it on the carburetor, but that's kind of a goofy fix. But it does work, okay? So watch that on any of your 7310s. It starts to lean out and race and not run right. That's probably the problem. I've had 2 of them do that to us. So that's kind of a bummer. They should have routed that a little bit differently, but maybe they just didn't use it enough in testing and figure that out. A bunch of years ago, a Japanese fella from Echo and a salesman from Echo out of the U.S., Chicago, I guess, wherever they're from there, was supposed to come up. They sent us a demo saw. It was the first build of this saw. The thing had no orange or black. It was all machined, and they wanted to come and get my input on it and start it up and run it. Unfortunately, the travel of the Japanese Echo fella and the guy from the United States had some problem at the border, and they couldn't make it. I was kind of bummed out. I kind of wanted to work with Echo on this saw, and but they had done a great job on it. I never got to test any of these at the beginning before they came out on production, but then I did do a couple for Echo themselves and gave out to a few followers here. Like you see one of my videos, if you see one of my videos with Andy Lowers, he's a professional follower up here, one of the best on the West Coast. You can tell yourself that, Andy. Anyways, he's a great guy, good friend of mine, known his family for years. He's got a good crew of followers that I've known for a long time. They're all my good buddies. We all joke together, okay? Anyways, he loved the saw. So if a guy like that's run 372s, Stills, 394s, 385s, 390s, he says this is a good saw and decent wood with a 32, it is. Hands down, it is. We were running a Still lightweight bar on these. You can put the Canon adapter, like you get for a Husky, onto the studs of this, but you do need to drill a hole and try to bolt it on there somehow. I forget what I did on his, but you could also maybe put some some glue around it or something and put it on there. Or each time you take the bar and chain off, you just got to watch it doesn't fall off and you'll lose it. Okay? So that's a good thing. The Still lightweight bar, 32-inch, 105 drivers, is an ultimate match for this saw with the full wrap handlebars and the bigger West Coast wood. Jason here is going to get a 28-inch bar, and that's just an awesome size. That's good for big stuff, small stuff. It'll be great on his property. He says he's got some close to 3-foot type stuff possibly, so it'll go through it no problem, man. He's gonna love this saw. Every one of these I've done, the guys have loved them. They're just a great saw. I do not do any ignition advancing to it. I really don't do that on many saws at all. Only some old school saws, certain models. Okay. Don't know if you want to try doing ignition advances, just be very careful what you're doing. You got to figure out how you're doing it. I actually have a 2-stroke timing light I've had for years, right here, called Herbrand. It's a tool company that's gone out of business now, but this does 2-stroke and 4-stroke, so it's quite simple. You mark your a line on the cylinder and the flywheel or on the case, at top dead center, and you put this on there and you can tell what kind of timing it's got. We'll get into that one day. I'll show you that someday. So yeah, I just wanted to say, Echo, you've done a great job of this. Fabulous. It gets good mileage too. Close to 40 minutes on a tank of fuel. Yeah, I think that's what he said. Yeah, 40 minutes. That's pretty good. That's about the same as a 462 still, which is better than the 500 still, and about the same as a Husky, the 572, 592, 585. I'm not quite sure the minutes the guys are getting on them right now. We haven't sold a lot of them, but I'll text a couple follower friends of mine I know that are running them and find that out. So yeah, I'm just gonna get this one back together now, get it run up, and get on to the next builds. I got lots to do as usual. I just wanted to tell you that stuff about the Echo history, man. It's pretty interesting. They've been around, man, and they do good work. It's nice stuff. They're, you know, some of their smaller saws got a little bit of quirky stuff happening to them, but overall, yeah, you can't beat them. Best warranty in the business too. I believe this is 3 year for pros. I might be wrong on that. Or no, maybe it's 1 year. 1 year and 5 year for consumers. I don't know. You can look it up online, okay? I'm not the guy for all that stuff, but I'll show you how it works and how it comes apart and goes back together and how it runs. Yeah. So yeah, let's hope there's a heated version Echo. See what happens with that, eh? There was an Echo scooter here on the island the other day where dealers go and they tell you about new information and service bolts and stuff like that, but because I don't work in the shop anymore, I didn't get invited to it, which is no big deal. It's more for sales anyways. You know, if they wanted to talk technical stuff, then I'd be in there and help them out with that. So yeah. Where was I going? Oh, that's what I was going to talk to you about. You know, the only saws that I really have fail are 590 Echoes. The reason the 590 Echoes score pistons or overheat and melt down is most of them are sold at department stores and dealerships where they don't PDI them properly. Most of them just throw a tank of gas in and start it out. It runs, and hand it to the guy. They don't set the carburetor right or anything like that. And I found with Echoes, even some in the new Husky X Torques, you got to run them so they're almost broken in. Give it like 5-6 tanks of gas, bring them back in and set the carburetors again with a tachometer. Old school saws, you know, I can do it by ear, but these new digital ignition ones with the limiters on the carburetor, limiter on the ignition, you need to set with the tach properly. And Echo has a very good layout on in their workshop manuals of how to set carburetors. Well, setting the idle, then setting your low, get the highest at the low, then turn your low or idle back, then setting your high end at top end, right? And it works really well. So they've done a good job. But the 590s, because they do burn up, there was a service bolt a while ago on the carburetors. So on the carburetors have a certain finish. You notice they don't get all rusty or corroded, right? Some of the coatings on the carburetor on the earlier 590s, ethanol fuel was breaking it down, and even inside in the metering system here, the coating was coming off and going through some of these small holes and actually blocking the fuel, making them run lean. You wouldn't think it was running lean because of the rev limiter, but guys are bringing them in with the pistons burnt up. And that was part of the problem. They came up with another carburetor that's more of a dull looking finish, and that's the newer style one on the 590s. So, you know, back to that, that's not the only problem with the 590s, why people score them. It's guys that run them with dull chains, bad fuel and oil, and don't understand, you know, how to run them really right, eh? Because they're consumers, right? Not saying that you're all bad, just a lot are. You also, lost my thought there for a second. A lot of it, another fact that happens to those saws is guys flood them easily. People, I would say 50 to 60% of those saws we sell at our shop, people bring them back because they flooded them and they can't get them started. So I'm going to show you a little trick right now here. It's not really a trick, it's just a way to do it. This saw is the same as a 590, how your choke works. So old school saws have like your throttle lock on the side of the pistol grip here or whatever, eh? You put it in, you lock that, right? You put your choke on, you pull it till it fires, you put the choke back in, you pull it again, then it's on a fast idle till you click your throttle off. These are a little bit different. So when your switch is on, your choke's on, if you hold the throttle, it offsets the choke. So people are putting their choke on, holding their throttle, go to start it, while the choke hasn't worked. So it won't start that way. So that's the non-flooding part of it. They bring it in and we show them, again, do not touch the throttle when you're pulling it over, and then it'll fire. The other scenario is when they're flooding it, they got the choke out, they're pulling it over with the compression release in there. They don't hear it fire. They run so quiet, the stock muffler, that a lot of people, maybe they got the earmuffs on already, they don't hear it quickly fire. And almost every one of them at the shop, when we run them new or after we fix them, they start within a few pulls every time on choke. So guys keep pulling them and pulling them on choke. They eventually get them flooded, then the thing won't go. Until it sits a long time, they come to the shop with it. It's sat long enough now in the back of their truck. They bring it to me. I hold it full throttle, pull it like 6 times. It burps, it clears the gas out, it's good to go. I rev it a little bit, run it a bit, make sure the carb's set right, give it back to the customer, and explain the starting procedures again to them. If you read your owner's manual, it would help you out a lot, but most people get those, throw them away, or some dealerships don't give it to them. Or if you bought it at Home Depot or wherever the big stores sell them, down in the US or other places, they might not give them to you either. So that starting procedure on Echoes is, like I say, choke out, do not touch throttle. Once it fires, push the choke in, pull it again, it'll be on a fast idle, let it warm up a little bit, then click your fast idle off with your throttle. Quite easy, and it works every time. People that tell me if they keep having that problem all the time, because they're doing it wrong again every time. I've tested and tested and tested them over and over, and they all start very good. So yeah, that's about it, I guess, on the Echo. Just a great saw. So yeah, don't be afraid to go out and buy one, man. They're a great price compared to pro saws of Husqvarna and Stihl. And to me, this is a pro saw. You know? P, is that why they call it a P? 7310 Pro? Then the PW is a wrap version, right? Wrap handles. I got one here actually. Let's have a look at it. This is the wrap handle off the Echo. It's got a nice straight piece here. Not like some of the Stihls, how they were curved, but eventually started going this way. So when you flip the saw over, you still got that nice straight line, eh? It's a nice handlebar setup. It's a bit angled so for your wrist, like a Husky is, because when they're straight, your wrist is cocked like this, so it's hard on your wrist. Ergonomically, having the 5 to 10 degree type angle here is much better for you. Your wrist is straight all the time when you're bucking, falling, instead of being over like this, like, you know? Takes its toll, right? Anyways, I've gone on long enough about that. I gotta go up and get some dinner prepared tonight. Shelly's closing the daycare tonight. And a little Fozzie up there needs some food, and probably go out to give him a little pee-pee there. So hey, keep your saw in the wood, stick your knife, rub on the road. You want any more information about these or any handle with them, send me a comment. Or, yeah, whatever you want, man. Have a great day. Enjoy the weather. It's nice out here right now. It's not raining, not snowing. It's kind of comfortable with a sweater. So hopefully your weather is all good wherever you guys are all at. Love you all out there. Keep watching. Have a good day. Bye.